Hello and welcome to this video about purchasing a new sewing machine. My name is Leah Day, and in the last 15 years I have purchased and used 15 different machines, most of those happening within the last 5 years. So I've got a lot of experience with many different brands and types of sewing machines, and today I'd like to share with you pretty much my top tips for buying a new machine, what to look for, and most especially the process of purchasing the machine itself. So my number one tip to buying a new machine is to really get clear on what you're buying it for. Are you purchasing the machine to teach a child how to quilt? Are you purchasing it for garment sewing? Are you purchasing it just for machine quilting? Do you already have a machine that's great at piecing and patchwork? So really get clear at what your goals are, and also take a look at what you have and what you're going to potentially trade in for your new machine. Are you going to give up a machine that you've had maybe for a very long time, or maybe a machine that you just recently purchased? What is your trade-in value? Really understand how much the current machine you have is worth and what your proper trade-in value should be. This is kind of like trading in a car. You don't want to come in not knowing anything, not knowing the value of your machine, and then having it really undervalued. I've had many situations where I've come to a dealer and had a machine to trade, and I was only going to get maybe $500 for that machine. Well, I knew that I could sell that machine for more on eBay, so that's what I did. I took that machine instead, sold it on eBay, made $1,200 instead, and just went on ahead and purchased that new machine completely without having a trade-in at all. So there's a lot of different options there, and you really want to get clear on what you're trading and what the value is and what you're upgrading to. So also take a look at what you want from your new machine. Do you want it to be bigger? Do you want it to have more features? Do you want more feet? Do you want more options? And what brands are available around you? Do you have a local dealer, or are you going to have to drive quite a ways to get to a sewing machine shop? Take a look at all that's available around you. My local quilt shop, the shop that's in my town, they're not very nice, I'll be honest. And so I don't purchase machines for them. I drive 30 minutes to an hour away, sometimes even 3 hours away, to purchase from dealers that are really nice, wonderful people who do great service. So you also have to kind of keep in mind, I'm not telling you to go, give someone service that you don't even like. Pay attention to who is paying attention to you and who wants your business and who's going to be nice about it. I do advise working with a dealer. That is one of my number one pieces of advice. And the main reason is, especially for your first machine, it's going to need to be serviced. It's going to need to be oiled and kept in good repair. If you are quilting a lot, I'm saying in upwards of 10 to 15 hours a week, you really want to get your machine serviced at least once a year. And that's just going to make sure that it's running properly, that it's under good maintenance. I can, of course, have shared some videos just on keeping your machine well maintained yourself, and you can click right here to find a video on how to clean out and oil your machine yourself. And that is a really good thing to keep in practice. About every 2 bobbin changes, you want to brush out your machine completely and oil it so it's always going to be in good working order. So now let's talk about the features that I really look for a machine that I'm going to buy. The number one thing, and thing I cannot emphasize enough, is the feet. I know that sounds weird, but I really think feet are essential to enjoying your sewing machine. If you're trying to do something complicated, like let's say install an invisible zipper into a garment, if you can't get an invisible zipper foot, which makes it so much easier to do, then that's really going to be a challenging project to make. It's going to be a challenging technique to do. The same thing goes for quilting. Definitely want to have a really well-designed patchwork foot that's a 1/4 inch foot that will help you maintain that nice 1/4 inch seam allowance for making beautiful patchwork blocks. You also want a really well-designed foot for free motion quilting. There's some great feet out there, there's some really terrible feet out there, and the way to know is to set down on the machine and stitch it and see if you can produce decent stitches at all. And if you can't, that might be a sign that that foot is not the best foot for you. So pay attention to not just the feet that you're going to be wanting to play with immediately, also pay attention to the feet that you may want to, try in the future. A cording foot, a blind hem foot, what feet come with the machine, and then what specialty feet can you buy extra. Big thing in quilting right now is ruler foot quilting, using a ruler foot in order to quilt with templates. And so that might be a foot to look for. Does your does that manufacturer have extra specialty feet that you can easily purchase? Just a quick little story. I always keep a Bernina machine in my home at all times. Right now I have a vintage machine, a Bernina 1230. It's one of my favorites. And it has such an amazing variety of feet. I can do anything on that machine because there's so many different feet to play with on it. And I can still purchase feet for this machine even though it was built 30 years ago. So that's a really amazing ability to just walk into a dealership and, a Bernina dealer and still be able to buy feet for it. Speaking of Berninas, here's one thing that they do really, really well. The foot attachment, the way the foot screws and connects to the machine is so secure. Those feet are always going to feel more stable and rock solid on the machine. So when you're testing out your machine, when you're test driving it, nudge the foot around. See if you're going to have a lot of play. There are some brands out there that I touch the foot and it's like, it's shifting all over the place. And that immediately tells me that I'm not going to be able to stitch as accurately on that machine because the foot is too wobbly, too wiggly wobbly. The machines that I've used a lot that I've really enjoyed the foot connection, my Juki machines have always had a really secure, stable, well-designed foot. My Berninas have always had that rock solid connection too. So I highly recommend both of those brands. I also have a vintage Viking, a 6570 that was built, maybe a few years before my Bernina, but I really struggle to find feet for it. So it's good to keep all of these things in mind. How many feet are available for the machine that you're looking at, and then how many feet will be available in the future. 10, 15 years down the road, is it going to be a total pain to try and find feet for it? I'd say the number one way that you can increase the value of your machine if you're wanting to sell it on eBay is to provide more feet for it. That's the number one thing I look for, at least whenever I'm purchasing a new machine. Does it come with a piecing foot? Does it come with some specialty sewing feet? Does it come with a walking foot? Does it come with a darning foot? Those are the things I'm looking for and really are a big deciding factor whether I purchase that machine or not. So now that we know a little bit more about features, I really want you to do your homework. I really want you to take your time purchasing your machine. I think a lot of machines are purchased on an impulse, like, oh my, it's so awesome and it's on sale, it's just so pretty, That is not the time to be buying that machine. I'm sorry to say. The time to buy a machine is with a rational mind. You have planned this out, you know the features, you have dug into it, you've read reviews, you've done as much research going into it as you possibly can. And then now you're ready to go and test drive and play on the machine. And even then, I want you to really take your time with the process. I want you to bring in a fully prepared project to work on. So let's say you're really into garment sewing, bring in like an apron or a small smock or shirt. Bring in something with the materials that you're wanting to use. So if you're sewing with silk a lot or sewing with knits a lot, bring in that fabric already cut up and ready to go for that garment. Bring in the thread that you're planning on using, that you've been using on your current machine. Bring those things in with you and sit down and make it clear that you are going to stitch at least a few seams on that project. And you're going to try out that machine, putting it through its paces in a real way. What that's going to tell the dealer when they work with you is that's going to tell them that you're serious, number one, and that they are really going to have to do a little bit more work for your sale. They're going to need to teach you how to wind a bobbin. They're going to need to teach you how to thread the machine yourself. they're going to need to walk you through how accessing those decorative stitches or those extra stitches within the machine works. Now, this will also tell you if your dealer is really willing to go the extra mile and work with you. If someone is too busy or even not in a good mood, or simply refuses to allow you to work on that project in their store, you might want to go find another dealer, because chances are they're not going to be really amenable if you have lots of questions, or if you need extra help, or you need your machine repaired down the road. So for all of those reasons, I think that's a great idea. It gives you a chance of not only getting to know the machine, it gives you a chance also to know what you can expect from your local dealer. On the day that you bring in your project, plan to spend the morning, maybe 2 to 3 hours in the morning, playing on the machine and getting used to it and understanding the features. Then go to lunch. Do not buy the machine before lunch. Go and eat lunch, think about everything, make sure that you've gotten a price from the dealer and that you know how much it's going to cost and if dealer financing is available. This is very important because some machines are so expensive these days that you can't afford it without financing it over a certain number of months. And most dealers currently are offering really good deals on financing where it's like zero interest for 48 months or 75 months or whatever. Those deals might sound a little scary, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be getting a credit card, I'm going to be financing, the whole 9 yards. It sounds scary, but to be honest, good machines have always been that expensive. When they were first invented and they first became a commodity that women wanted and wanted to bring in their home, it was always going to be something that cost several months, if not years worth of your wages. So good machines should cost a lot of money. And that lets you know whether it's going to be a good machine or not. I would say these days you really need to spend at least $500, if not $1,000, to get a solid workhorse machine. Okay? So go into it planning to take your time. Eat some lunch, refuel your brain so you're thinking well. Go back to the machine and play with it a little bit more. Make it clear that you really want to know this machine and you want to be comfortable with it before that purchase. And then at the end of the day, if there is not a single shadow of a doubt in your heart that that is a machine for you and you're totally in love with it, then you can complete the sale. But if you have even the slightest question, please go home and think about it some more and look at your stitches and compare and contrast the different machines that are available in your area. I would strongly advise you not to jump into this decision. Good machines these days can cost $2,000 to $5,000, and that is a lot of money to spend on something that you might not be happy with if you don't take the time to really know what you're purchasing and why you're purchasing it. You want to make sure that you're going to get your money's worth. As far as financing goes, I kind of glossed over that. I have purchased 2 machines with financing over the years, and they were both great experiences. When I financed it, it was just more than I could afford and at one time. And so I financed it. The dealer ran my credit and just made sure that I had a good credit score and I wasn't delinquent on something. And then I started getting, bills for that amount, and it did not have any interest added. And so it just allowed me to pay off that machine in, like $100-$200 amounts for several months. I always paid it off early so that way I wouldn't get hit with interest at all. So I think one time I financed for 24 months, 2 years, 24 months, and I paid it off in 18 months. Another time I financed for 1 year, and I think I paid it off in 6 months. So I do think that financing is a good option if you have good credit and you think that you can pay it off that way. So long as you pay it off before the interest hits, it's a good option. If your dealer doesn't have financing available, if that's not an option for you, you can go with another option is to put it on a credit card and just, again, watch your interest rate, make sure you're going to pay that bill down so that way you don't get hit with an increasing amount monthly. That's where you can really get in trouble. So more than anything else, I hope that this video has helped you see just how important it is to take your time and to know what you want from your machine. That's my goal. I don't want you to get disappointed and rush into this decision with an impulse buy. That's the worst way to buy a machine. And I know because I've done it myself. So don't do that. Take your time, know what you're buying, make sure it's going to do the things that you want it to do. And it's not like some kind of fantasy, like, oh, it's going to quilt it for me, and it not have that feature at all. Make sure that you know what you're buying and that you've taken your time and that it's absolutely going to do all the things that you want it to do. Buying a machine is exciting, it's fun, and I wish you the best luck in finding a new machine for you for sewing or quilting. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube video so you don't miss out on any more sewing machine reviews or quilting design videos coming out every single week. Until next time, let's go quilt.